Hey, what's up everybody? Michael here, and there is three really big topics that I thought I would drop in to talk to you all about. Now, the first one being that we did get an official release of PS5 Linux Loader. This one is, of course, coming to us from the Flow, and he states over here in the repo that this is a Linux payload implementing the hypervisor exploit and a custom bootloader. So this we saw a couple of months ago, and now it is finally out. So if we go ahead and look down here into the README, we can see that PS5 Linux leverages a patched hypervisor vulnerability to transform your PS5 FAT. Now do keep in mind that this is for only the FAT consoles running 3.x or 4.x firmware. So if you have anything above that or lower than that, this will not work, into a highly capable Linux PC, unlocking its full hardware potential for desktop use. It is powered by 8 CPU cores at 3.5 gigahertz and a GPU at 2.23 gigahertz. So that is pretty amazing stuff. Now, the Flow states here that it provides enough performance to run Steam games and emulators, and there is some more of the specs of what it does. Now, he does state here that it does allow you to utilize an M.2 SSD as a dedicated Linux partition, as well as the USB ports on the console. So there is the official image, and if we scroll down into this, we can see that we have the PS5 firmware, and it says that this is only supported on PS5 FAT, 3.x and 4.x firmwares. Now, we all know that those firmwares in the early 3s did not have M.2 drive support, but if you are in those 4s, then you can use your M.2 drive in order to install Linux onto. Now, he does state that support for 1.x and 2.x firmwares may be added in the future, but there is not a lot of prioritization on that. And then for firmwares 5.x, those may be added in the future, but for those firmwares, Linux will run within the game OS VM, thus it will have less features, still unknown what the limitations are, and it may not perform as good. Again, if you do want a specific firmware, you can download the correct pup and then install it as you normally do. Now, over here on the hardware, it does state that you need some required and optional hardware. So required, a USB drive with 64 gigabytes. Now this is going to install and run Linux, a USB Ethernet WLAN adapter for internet access, and then a USB keyboard and mouse. And then of course you can use an M.2 SSD on your PlayStation 5 as well. And it does look like you will need a Bluetooth dongle to connect up the PS5 DualSense controller. Now, there are a couple of settings in here on what exactly you need to configure, as well as there is installation instructions if you're using Linux or Windows subsystem for Linux, and a few other things in here. Now, before I leave this section, I do want to state here that in the FAQ, it is asked, can I dual boot Linux and the PS5 OS? And no, this is a soft mod, so you will need to rerun it in order to boot into Linux. Now, one other thing to note is that your PS5's internal SSD is not modified, so you really do not have any risk here of destroying your PlayStation 5 by using this. And yeah, the rest of this is just a bunch of tips and tricks, a Discord server, and a few other things like that. Now, if you come over here to the releases, you can see right now there is the ELF file that is available, so you can just download that and send it over to your PlayStation 5, as long as you went ahead and built and flashed that image file that it was describing just right here. Now, if you are looking for a place that already has that payload implemented, you can always use Zeko's site here, and this one already has the PS5 Linux Loader ELF added to it, or you can just send it over manually with something like Netcat GUI. And now the next thing that I wanted to call out is that Just very shortly after we have had this official release of the PS5 Linux loader, we have seen over on X, Gajina state that took some time to finish implementing on the PlayStation 5, but I finally got it working, and they shared a video here. And this video shows that they are on a 13.20 system. And so from here, they're going to go ahead and they're going to scroll down to the bottom, and right there is debug settings. So yeah, it looks like we have a kernel exploit there on PS5 13.20. So it is very interesting that we saw this just shortly after the Flow released theirs. I've seen a couple of memes on this already. So anyways, pretty interesting stuff. Now, of course, Gajina did state that they were not going to release this publicly. But again, I think that this will come out over time, especially as more than likely they will probably provide some hints or some tips for others. So who knows, we might see something available on this, or we may not. Next up, I wanted to provide an update on this PlayStation 30-day DRM issue. Now, Mohammed gave a bunch of great information on this, and if you're not familiar, they are the ones that has brought us things such as the NES emulator on the PlayStation 5. And what they stated here was there's a lot of confusion right now about the PlayStation 30-day DRM issue. People calling it a bug or saying it only affects certain games. They went ahead and they investigated to see what was happening. And first off, they said Sony didn't change anything in the console software side. The expiration timer has always existed to protect subscription content. What changed is how the server issues your .rif file, or your rights information, which is basically the digital license your console uses to verify you own it. To test this, I compared the hex data of the RIF files for the exact same game across two accounts, one bought before March and one bought recently. For the old purchase, the end timestamp is set to 7FFF, which translates to no expiration date. And for the recent one, there is a value in the end timestamp. And so the bottom line here is that Sony is simply reusing an existing feature, and any new digital license you get from Sony's server now comes with the 30-day check-in requirement baked directly into the license file. And we can go over here and we can take a look at it. So this is the one of before where there is no expiration date. And then over here, this is the one where now it's setting that expiration date. Anyways, I just wanted to pop in and give a quick update here. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Michael, out.